Okay. Trump wasn't shot. Oh, man. Save me from this one, guys. Oh, no. I'm not going to be able to find the video. And it didn't save on my Reddit account. Hold on. Reddit. Trump wasn't shot. Ugh, I'm not going to be able to find it. It's all over. Oh, this is it. This is like a true... This is a real conspiracy video. It's got like the white text. The guy doesn't talk at all. It's from like a random YouTube channel. CC-concerned citizen, okay? This is like a proper... This is a proper conspiracy theory, okay? I already know the debunk, I think, but I know a debunk of the debunk. And then what I'm going to ask you guys, I need you guys to give me a debunk of a debunk of a debunk. And then we'll be back on the mainstream, okay? All right? This seems so stupid. But then I was like, wait a second. Hold on. Hold up.
This morning.
Did you see whether Trump himself was actually shot?
No, he wasn't shot. To me, it looked like he got up from the ground when they picked him up. There was a little bit of blood, right?
Okay, testimony from people there doesn't matter. I wouldn't expect her to have seen anything or know anything, so this is irrelevant.
Here.
Hopefully, he only hit his head off the podium.
Also irrelevant.
Right, yeah, right. It could have been when he felt when they tackled him to the ground too. So I don't know.
Take a look what happened.
So this guy's theory for his conspiracy is, okay, the officer's hip impacts Trump's head. That's the running story narrative theory that this guy's going to go with. All right. Okay, so hip hits its head here. Now, is it possible? One, why did he grab his ear beforehand? Okay, one. But number two, is it possible that a guy's hip hitting your ear would make it bleed? That seems kind of not too good, but then we see, though, oh, well, hold on. He's got a Glock holstered here, okay? Everybody who's fucked with guns before has cut themselves on a slide, on a trigger, on a hammer, or whatever. It happens. Oh, okay. Somebody slamming into your head with a holstered gun here. These could definitely cut you. Sure, it's possible, I guess, but okay. Why did Trump reach for his ear with his right hand? That's not the relevant thing. We'll get to the relevant thing after, but that's not the killer to this. Also, I only watched 4 minutes of this video too, so maybe at the end he's got stronger evidence, or maybe it's weaker evidence. We'll see. Okay, so supposedly then he got hit on the ear where the gun was carried. Supposedly, okay. We have our ultra slowed down thing, and then this is supposedly where he collided with Trump's head. Okay. Wait. Okay. Gun is fired, Trump reacts.
Take a look what happened.
As did the spectators. They experienced the acoustic startle reflex. They weren't shot. They all reach for the head due to inner ear pain. So this guy's argument is that the reason why Trump reaches up for his ear is because as the bullet comes by or as the bullet is near, it's the whizzing of the bullet sound, and he's like, oh shit, and he reaches up. That's the theory that he's going with in this video. If Trump was shot, you must believe, I don't know what he says here. 1,000,001 shot. This isn't relevant. This can happen, so that's not a good argument. None of this is a good argument. Who jumped down on a slanted grooved rooftop and bullseyed his first shot. Again, none of this is relevant. This could happen, and clearly it wasn't a bullseye because he missed. With an old and borrowed weapon lacking optics, shot is 150 yards. Irons at 150 yards from a prone, you could do it.
50 yards, especially if you're not very trained as a shooter.
Depending on how comfortable you are with the weapon. Bullet trajectory. Oh, this would be one thing to look into. I don't know the position of the guy that got shot or the position of the guy on the roof, such that if it would have is possible or not. Just because this guy has already made some dumb leaps in this video, I don't think I trust his positioning on everything exactly, but... Trump would need to be facing the shot for a bullet to graze his ear. The angle is off by 40 degrees. I don't know if any of this is true or not. I don't know if I believe this.
Take a look what happened.
So here he makes the argument that Trump's head would lunge towards the shot at impact, or why would he do that? Trajectory and head movement, I don't know if I agree with any of this. Trump absurdly attempts to explain those. I don't know if I care about any of this. The head, okay, don't know if I care about any of this. Medical report. Trump was taken to the hospital. The treating physician discounted a projectile strike. I don't know if that would matter. I don't know if they would know if it was a projectile versus a shrapnel or anything else. Trump blocked the hospital report and called his guy. I don't know if that's true. I don't know why you would need to block a hospital report. I feel like it's probably HIPAA. You would never be allowed to release this legally anyway.
It's some people have, just great genes. I told the president that.
A week later, Ronnie Jackson said Trump was shot. The congressman's political career relies on Trump. Don't care about this. Not relevant. Bloody tales were told. That's not relevant. Oh, wait, hold on. Okay, so here are the big questions I think that I have, okay? There was blood. No, okay, hold on. Means he wasn't shot. Gaslighting. Trump's convention speech is a bold deception. Don't care about any of this.
There was
Okay, I don't think anything else is relevant here. This guy is wacky as fuck. Okay. This is the kill shot to this conspiracy is there is one photograph of Trump that shows him with blood on his hands. I'm trying to think of where it is. I think 50 trillion retards and shadow linking this. Like, I've never seen this before. Okay. There's one series of photographs right here that show, wait, was this true, or did this end up being confirmed doctored, like the bullet being added here? Wasn't it determined that it would be impossible to catch a photograph of a bullet traveling through the air like this? Or I think it's real. It's true. Okay, let me read this check. Let me check. Was giving a speech at a campaign rally near Butler, Pennsylvania, when a 20-year-old shooter opened fire from a nearby rooftop. One bullet from an AR-15 style rifle grazed his right ear, leaving him bleeding. In the hours after the shooting, posts on social media began to claim that Doug Mills, a veteran photographer of the New York Times, caught an image of one of the bullets on cameras that whizzed past the president's former head. So the poster in the subreddit, the creator of this video, he claims that the photo is doctored. He says that Doug Mills doctored his photo, which is a pretty big claim, that he would just invent something like this with so many other people at this rally. That's a pretty outstanding claim. Now, I think I've heard that it's not the bullet, but it's like the trail that the bullet might leave behind. I think Forethought said something in chat. What's it called? The con trail or whatever? Or the vapor trail or whatever? But we'll read the rest of the Snopes article. Mills gave multiple interviews explaining the context of the photo and sharing his experience as a witness of the attempted assassination. At the following interview, he explains he didn't realize he'd captured the image of the bullet until one of his editors pointed it out. Hold on one second. All right. Multiple X users questioned the authenticity of the photo. Many claimed it was digitally altered. Is that even scientifically possible, or is it photoshopped? You know the media lies. You know that they alter photos. Wait, hold on. Let's see. On the other hand, various blogs, social media users, and other news sites broke down the plausibility that Mills captured the bullet in the image, concluding that it was possible for the camera to have captured the streak of the bullet within the frame, given that he was shooting with a shutter speed of 1/8,000th of a second. As far as we were able to determine the photo is authentic, meaning it was not digitally altered to include the streak of the bullet behind Trump's head. The New York Times maintains a strict standard when it comes to altered images, as seen on the Guidelines on Integrity page of the newspaper's website. According to an NPR story pertaining to this image, Mills's editor called him minutes after he uploaded the images, asking whether he'd noticed the image in question appeared to show the bullet streak. She said, "There's actually a picture with a bullet going behind him," and I said, "Oh my God." Scott Detrow said, "What was your shutter speed?" He said 0.08 of a second. Huh. Is that normal? What do you normally, I don't know what you normally capture pictures at. I have no clue. The New York Times explicitly vouched for the photo's authenticity, publishing an article July 14th breaking down the plausibility of the photo having captured the flying bullet. In it, they confirmed that Mills was using a Sony digital camera capable of capturing images at up to 30 frames per second. The article included an interview with Michael Harrigan, a retired FBI agent who spent 22 years in the Bureau. The gunman was firing an AR-15 style rifle. The .223 caliber or 5.56 millimeter bullets they use travel at roughly 3,200 feet per second when they leave the weapon's muzzle, Harrigan said, and with 1/8,000th of a second shutter speed, this would allow the bullet to travel approximately 4/10 of a foot while the shutter is open. His conclusion, given the circumstances, if that's not showing the bullet's path through the air, I don't know what else it would be. And then the New York Times published a video in which Mills addressed the circumstances surrounding the image in question. It's unclear whether the actual bullet is visible from within the frame, or only the bullet's path, as Harrigan said. According to the former FBI agent, it absolutely could be showing the displacement of air due to a projectile. For reference, the picture below is one example showing what a bullet looks like as a gun fires. Here's a picture image. The bottom line is there's no evidence that Mills's image, though incredibly fortuitous, was digitally altered based on the fact that the photographer was shooting at a very high shutter speed, and because multiple reputable outlets, including the New York Times, which originally published the image, have affirmed its authenticity. We rate this claim true. So the two strongest counters to this are the I guess the fact that there's a bullet in the background for this, and the fact that we have an image, a photograph of Trump doing this here, where he's got blood on his hand. So it seems to be the case that he was shot. And then, so this would be the, I guess, like the counter, the kill shot. His counter is that, I think he just says that the photos are doctored, basically, which is an argument, but I mean, he has no proof of that. This is the only question, okay, that I would have then, okay, after watching the Secret Service guy smash into Trump's fucking ear. This is the only question that I have that I'm not, that's the only thing that makes it possible in my head. This was a rally for Donald Trump where there were like thousands of people that were watching him do his speech. Is there a single other image or video of him with blood on his hand before he goes down below the podium? There has to be at least one, right? If that was true, that would be like the ultra, like, okay, yeah, this is just a super conspiracy, like this is dumb. Is there one more video or one more picture anywhere? What's the source of those images? These ones are taken by, I think it was Doug Mills, right? The New York Times photographer. Is Doug Mills a MAGA guy? I don't think so, no. Give a confidence on this conspiracy? I would give it a 3%. My camera goes up to 1/4000, so I think 8000 would be overkill for this kind of setting. I can understand wildlife photography, but Trump, he doesn't move that fast. Why use such a fast shutter speed? I don't know why a professional would. It could be that if you're out in really bright daylight, again, I don't know what pro cameras are like, but it might be that you are, if your ISO is already as low as possible, if you don't have a super high quality filtering lens, then maybe you crank the shutter speed to decrease the brightness of the image so it's not super washed out. Maybe, I have no idea. You can see someone videoing him while he's being shot at. Yeah, I know. I'm just curious where those fucking videos are, but... I want to see them. I want to see the videos. Why do you think conservatives keep bringing up that app that immigrants use, CDP1 or whatever it's called? I know Vance used it when they fact-check him. I just don't understand what is bad with the app and why conservatives hate it so much. The idea behind conservatives is that... the immigrants are using this app to get like fucking millions of dollars of free shit or whatever, and they're stealing all the money from Americans with this stupid fucking... It's just a dumb thing that they obsess over. High shutters to get no motion blur. Oh, that's true too. Super high shutter speed would also mean no motion blur. Wasn't the original conspiracy theory that it was a piece of glass or something other than the bullet that hit Trump? Some people had that theory, but I don't think that was corroborated by literally anybody. Nobody said that that was... No, I don't think anybody that investigated said anything about that, but that's my conspiracy of the day for you. All right. Do we have time to read all of this today? Wait. We got him. Oh, hold on, one more. There we go. Two more. We got it. Okay. Somebody sent me a document with everything. Why? Jesus. Supposedly all of the unnamed people. Hold on. I'm ordering food. I'm fucking hungry. Mmm. I'm at the studio, not my PC. Listen, I don't want to get too far into it. I don't know how much longer I can not talk about this, but there's a person I was playing GTRP with for a long period of time. We've been having a lot of conversations. I think they spiraled out of control. I'm down here for a little bit. Do today's filings contain anything new? Seems to me that they are releasing the same old shit as a refresher to hurt Trump. It seems that way to you because you're fucking retarded. They're re-releasing stuff because the Supreme Court remanded this case back to the lower courts, meaning they wanted them to analyze it in a different way. And that's what we're getting here. I believe that's what this is. This. Yes. And. This. Yes. And, wait. I hate fucking DoorDash. It's just a shit app. It's a dog shit app. I think Uber Eats is unironically just better. It's just way better. So is there anything new? I feel like we went over all this on stream already. How would you know if you haven't read it? Jesus, 14 minutes. All right. Okay. United States of America v. Donald J. Trump, the one and only, the Trumpster. How do I get rid of this bullshit? Government's motion for immunity determinations. The defendant asserts that he is immune from prosecution for his criminal scheme to overturn the 2020 presidential election because he claims it entailed official conduct. Not so. Although the defendant was the incumbent president during the charged conspiracies, his scheme was fundamentally a private one. Working with a team of private co-conspirators, the defendant acted as a candidate when he pursued multiple criminal means to disrupt, through fraud and deceit, the government function by which votes are collected and counted, a function in which the defendant, as president, has no official role. So this is important. The fact that Donald Trump utilized private means, private employees, private lawyers. He didn't go to the Office of Legal Counsel. He didn't have the help of the DOJ. He had private legal counsel as a private citizen, Rudy Giuliani and Sidney Powell and John Eastman. These were not White House staff. These were not official government employees. These were just Donald Trump's personal lawyers. In Trump v. United States, the Supreme Court held that presidents are immune from prosecution for certain official conduct, including the defendant's use of the Justice Department in furtherance of his scheme, as was alleged in the original indictment, and remanded to this court to determine whether the remaining allegations against the defendant are immunized. Oh, also, that's true, too. The president has no official role in helping the states figure out if their voting is done in accordance with how he would like it to be, or even investigating that type of voter fraud. Unless you're alleging particular federal crimes, this is pretty much exclusively in the purview of the states to run their own elections. The answer to that question is no. This motion provides a comprehensive account of the defendant's private criminal conduct, sets forth the legal framework created by Trump for resolving immunity claims, the Trump case, applies that framework to establish that none of the defendant's charged conduct is immunized because it either was unofficial or any presumptive immunity is rebutted, and requests the relief the government seeks, which is, at bottom, this, that the court determine that the defendant must stand trial for his private crimes as would any other citizen. So government here, anytime you see government, it's referring to the prosecution, the Department of Justice, okay? This motion provides the framework for conducting the necessarily fact-bound immunity analysis required by the Supreme Court's remand order in the Trump case. It proceeds in 4 parts. Section 1 provides a detailed statement of the case that the government intends to prove at trial. This includes the conduct alleged in the superseding indictment, as well as other categories of evidence that the government intends to present in its case in chief. This detailed statement reflects the Supreme Court's ruling that presidential immunity contains an evidentiary component, which should be addressed at the outset of a proceeding. Section 2 sets forth the legal principles governing claims of presidential immunity. It explains that for each category of conduct the Supreme Court has not yet addressed, this court should first determine whether it was official or unofficial by analyzing the relevant content, form, and context to determine whether the defendant was acting in his official capacity or instead in his capacity as a candidate for re-election. Where the defendant was acting as office seeker, not office holder, no immunity attaches. For any conduct deemed official, the court should next determine whether the presumption of immunity is rebutted, which requires the government to show that applying a criminal prohibition to that act would pose no dangers of intrusion on the authority and functions of the executive branch. Section 3 then applies those legal principles to the defendant's conduct and establishes that nothing the government intends to present to the jury is protected by presidential immunity. Although the defendant's discussions with the vice president about their official responsibilities qualify as official, see Trump, the government rebuts the presumption of immunity, and all the defendant's remaining conduct was unofficial. As content, form, and context show, the defendant was acting in his capacity as a candidate for re-election, not in his capacity as president. In the alternative, if any of the conduct were deemed official, the government could rebut the presumption of immunity. Finally, Section 4 explains the relief sought by the government and specifies the findings the court should make in a single order, namely that the defendant's conduct set forth in Section 1 is not immunized, and that as a result, the defendant must stand trial on the superseding indictment, and the government is not prohibited at trial from using evidence of the conduct described in Section 1. Factual proffer. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to skim this to see if there's anything new that wasn't brought up before. The through line of these efforts in trying to rebut in the targeted states, the through line was deceit. The defendant's co-conspirators knowingly false claims of election fraud. They use these lies in the furtherance of 3 conspiracies. 1, conspiracy to interfere with the federal government function, by which the nation collects and counts election results. 2, conspiracy to obstruct the official proceedings in which Congress certifies the legitimate results. And 3, a conspiracy against the rights of millions of Americans to vote and have their votes counted. As set forth below, the defendant worked with private co-conspirators, including private attorneys, CC 1, 2, 3, and CC 5, and private political operatives, and P1. The defendant also relied heavily on private agents, such as his campaign employees and volunteers, like campaign manager P2, and deputy campaign manager P3, senior campaign manager P4, and campaign operative P5. We don't have to, actually go. It's not super important to know every single person, I guess. But we know all these guys. Rudy Giuliani was Trump's personal attorney who led a lot of the state cases with Sidney Powell. They lied about basically all of the evidence they submitted. We've watched them go through in long form a lot of their trials. We've seen them make their claims. Basically, all of them were bold-faced lies. There's also a very high probability, based on what I've read, that Sidney Powell was giving specific direction to affidavit writers in terms of what to write in the affidavits and say, hey, this is what we need you to say that you found. I believe that was attested to one of the guys that said that they were like a foreign operative or a foreign intelligence guy who later came out and said, listen, that's not my job at all. I don't know why they said that. Like they were giving me some direction to write this. John Eastman was the constitutional lawyer who took Chesebro's idea and basically manifested it for Trump, this idea that Pence could break the procedure set forth in the Electoral Count Act in order to basically choose the president himself using the fake electorate slates they had gathered. Chesebro is an attorney from Wisconsin, Georgia, one of the contested states. He was brought on board by Tarpus something, I think. I don't remember the guy's name. Let's see. P1 through, okay. Bannon, we know Bannon. Bill Stepien, I think, was a campaign manager guy. Justin Clark, I think, also worked with the campaign. Jason Miller was a senior campaign advisor. He did testimony on the J6 committee. Mike Roman, video poster guy. Roger Stone, Mark Meadows, Mark Sean. Okay, we've seen these guys here. All right. Increasingly desperate efforts to use false claims. Let's see. Formation of the conspiracies. Although his multiple conspiracies began after Election Day in 2020, the defendant laid the groundwork for his crimes well before then. Leading into the election, the defendant's private campaign advisors, including Roger Stone, then a private citizen, and Bill Stepien, the defendant's campaign manager, informed him that it would be a close contest and that it was unlikely to be finalized on Election Day, in part because of the time needed to process large numbers of mail-in ballots prompted by the COVID-19 pandemic. They also told the defendant that the initial returns on election night might be misleading. That is, that he might take an early lead in the vote count that would diminish his mail-in ballots were counted because his own supporters favored in-person voting, while supporters of his opponent, Joseph R. Biden, favored mail-in ballots. Privately, the defendant told advisors, including P6, maybe Roger Stone, Campaign personnel, P7, maybe Mark Meadows, a White House staffer and campaign volunteer, and P8, the vice president's chief of staff, who's Mark Short. Then in such a scenario, he would simply declare victory before all the ballots were counted and any winner was projected. Publicly, the defendant began to plant the seeds for that false declaration. In the months leading up to the election, he refused to say whether he would accept the election results, insisted that he could lose the election only because of fraud, falsely claimed that mail-in ballots were inherently fraudulent, and asserted that only votes counted by Election Day were valid. So this is a new thing that I don't believe was in the superseding indictment or the prior indictment. This here, I don't believe this evidence was revealed before, that the government had this. Although it's possible maybe that they gathered more as well to overcome the new hurdles that the Supreme Court is putting in front of them in order to rebut the presumptive immunity, maybe. Oh, okay, P1 is definitely Bannon. This is the Bannon tape. Rudy and Boris suggested the defendant just declare victory, and at about 2:20 a.m., the defendant gave televised remarks to a crowd of his campaign supporters in which he falsely claimed, without evidence or specificity, that they had been fraud in the election, that he had won. This is new. For example, on November 4th, P5, a campaign employee, Mike Roman, agent and co-conspirator of the defendant, tried to sow confusion when the ongoing vote count at the TCF Center in Detroit, Michigan looked unfavorable for the defendant. There, when a colleague at the TCF Center told him, "We think a batch of votes heavily in Biden's favor is right," he responded, "Find a reason that it isn't. Give me options to file litigation, and even if it is, he typoed. When the colleague suggested that there was about to be unrest reminiscent of the Brooks Brothers riot, a violent effort to stop the vote count in Florida after the 2000 presidential election, P5 responded, "Make them riot and do it." The defendant's campaign operatives and supporters used similar tactics at other tabulation centers, including in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and the defendant sometimes used the resulting confrontations to falsely claim that his election observers were being denied proper access, thus serving as a predicate to the defendant's claim that fraud must have occurred in the observer's absence. So this is new. That wasn't in here before. Just looking for new stuff. Yeah, that his claims were false. P9 repeatedly gave Trump his honest assessment that CC1 could not mount successful legal challenges to the election. CC1 is Giuliani. For instance, when the defendant told P9 is Eric Hirschman. Oh, Hirschman, okay. Told Hirschman that he was going to put Giuliani in charge of the campaign's legal efforts, but pay him only if he succeeded. Hirschman told the defendant that he would never have to pay Giuliani anything. In response, the defendant laughed and said, "We'll see." Thereafter, in Oval Office meetings with the defendant, Giuliani and others in which Giuliani made speculative claims, Hirschman told Giuliani in front of Donald Trump that Giuliani would be unable to prove his allegations in a courtroom. In a separate private conversation, when Hirschman reiterated to the defendant that Giuliani would be unable to prove his false fraud allegations in court, Trump responded, "The details don't matter." This is new. We haven't seen this before, I don't believe, unless maybe this came from part of the deposition. Maybe I just didn't read that part. Maybe that was in it, or this is part of an investigation we haven't seen yet. Do you have a favorite existentialist? Yeah, your mom. Got him. Let's see. Pence gradually and gently tried to convince the defendant to accept the lawful results of the election, even if it meant they lost. These conversations included. So I believe that a lot of the stuff the J6 committee couldn't touch was stuff that had to do with executive privilege. So people that were, I think you could get out of testifying to the J6 committee about conversations you had with Trump, but you can't do that with a criminal investigation. So we might see new stuff from like Pence or Mark Meadows or Giuliani, people that were around Trump and having conversations with Trump, Jeffrey Clark, conversations that the J6 committee couldn't report on or couldn't ask them about because they could just say, oh, executive privilege, suck dick. But in this, they wouldn't be able to do executive privilege. They could still plead the fifth that they were charged with a crime, but... So Pence is having lots of conversations with Trump saying, hey, listen, bro, time to chill. A private lunch on November 12th in which Pence reiterated a face-saving option for the defendant. Don't concede, but recognize the process is over. Don't look at the election as a loss, just an intermission, Trump. This was followed later in the day by a private discussion in the Oval Office, which the defendant asked Pence, what do you think we should do? Pence said, after we've exhausted every legal process in the courts and Congress, if we still came up short, Trump should just take a bow. Damn. Fuck, this is way too long. There's no shot I'm going over all this tonight. Is there any other juicy stuff? Like, what's the next juicy thing? Certainly there are mainstream articles summarizing the new points, right? Maybe, yeah, but I never trust anything unless... Sticks was arrested for domestic violence. Wait, really? Damn. Here's a clear example of Jack Smith breaking executive privilege left, where the Jan 6 committee could not. Ooh, what page is this from? Show me. Oh, this is about that crazy Jan 4th meeting. Oh, no, wait. The crazy meeting was on January 3rd, actually, I think. Fuck. Is this an image? You can't control F it? Page 44 has... Why can't I type on this? Oh. That guy just make that up. Why was he able to break executive privilege? Because executive privilege, I think, doesn't apply to like criminal cases. Like you have to testify to what was said. You can't just say that's like for not criminal shit, I think. The defendant said some words indicating he didn't want me in the meeting. It's hard to imagine stronger evidence that conduct is private than when the president excludes his White House counsel and only wishes to have his private counsel present. True. Next phone call on January 5th, the defendant Blank made a pen. Blank was a result of private... Okay, fuck this. Nothing juicy yet we don't already know from... Oh, you're only on page 24. 165 pages. Holy fuck. All right, well, maybe if stuff pops up in the news, we can read back on this and see if anything else gets reported from it, but... Fuck, what am I looking for? Calendar. Do I have anything for tomorrow? Oh, I have a phone call tomorrow. I think I might be able to get on stream. I think the guy that was like the main dude responsible for writing that J6 report, if we're lucky, I think. Trump calls Sidney Powell crazy on page 30, on 34, 44? Fuck. Oh yeah, I think this was one of the... On November 20th, the day after the press conference, the defendant made a similar comment to blank and blank. Two White House staffers who also volunteered for his campaign. In casual conversation after another meeting had ended, the defendant told P7 and P45 that P51 had eviscerated or destroyed Sidney Powell. Who's P51? Oh, Tucker Carlson. Oh, because Carlson was mad, and he was mad. We know that from the Dominion lawsuit. The defendant then had a call with CC3. Is that Eastman? No, Sidney Powell. Sidney Powell on speakerphone while P7 and P45 listened in and mentioned the P51 segment to Sidney Powell. While Sidney Powell responded, the defendant placed the call on mute, and the P7 and P45 mocked and laughed at her and called her claims crazy and made a reference to the science fiction series Star Trek when describing her allegations. That's a new thing. Oh man, dude, if this goes to court, all the information with that comes from Trump, Jesus. Will be wild. I think the current executive must choose to uphold executive privilege for it to be binding. The current executive may waive it. Huh. Okay. All right. Well, I'm going back to work on shit. Be careful. J6 video updates. I'm working on it. I didn't know we were doing a podcast all today, so thought I would have more time to work on it, but I'm still plugging away at it. We're doing our best. Probably stream something tomorrow. I should stream a little bit every day. Be careful, don't die. I love you very much. Ooh.